The difference is that there is no right to defence in a military court, whereas there is in civilian courts.
How is this fair? There is no room for appeal. Since the 1962 coup, Myanmar's justice system has never ranked highly for its attention to due process of law and defendants' rights. But it's now officially the worst in the world, and people sentenced in the increasing number of areas under martial law have no rights at all. Hello and welcome to Daw Kyi Aye, a weekly podcast about human rights stories from Myanmar. It's brought to you by Fondation Hirondelle. This episode is produced by journalists from Frontier Myanmar. Names and voices may have been changed to protect contributors. How is this fair? There is no room for appeal. They should actually inform us when the trial is going to happen. They should call us on the phone, right? They should call whatever numbers they have or call his younger brother or sister's phone. Isn't that right? So that we could come to the trial. We would be present no matter what. There is no transparency in the process of how they work and which charges they are making. They were no witnesses. They sentenced him without us knowing anything. Daw Kyi Aye only found out about her son's trial 2 months after he was sentenced, and she would not have been able to attend because he was sentenced by a military tribunal under martial law. Thar Gyi is in his 30s. He joined the protests immediately after the military coup in February 2021. But after the crackdown, he went back to work. In the early part of this year, he was arrested while he was out. Police and troops then came to the family home and searched it and claim they found a gun and a bulletproof vest there. Daw Kyi Aye says it's impossible for these things to have been hidden in their house, which is open plan. They said they found a gun and a bulletproof vest. Nobody knows for real. We've never seen them before, nor knew these were in his possession. Our house is quite simple and does not have rooms. He sleeps in front of the shrine. His father did not know either. We would have spoken to him if we had known, all right? We wouldn't have let them keep them. None of us knew about it. The family had brief contact with Thar Gyi a few weeks after his arrest and then heard nothing for some months. Finally, he managed to get a letter to them in which he said he had been sentenced to life in prison. He was found guilty on 3 charges, including Section 51C of the counter-terrorism law for possession of arms related to terrorist activity. According to ISP Myanmar, there are currently 55 townships that are under martial law. The military controls the administrative, security, and judicial activities in these townships. Anyone arrested there will be tried by a military tribunal in closed-door hearings. A spokesperson from the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, or AAPP, says with military tribunals you cannot hire a defence lawyer, and there is usually no way to appeal.
The difference is that there is no right to defence in a military court, whereas there is in civilian courts. And in civilian courts, you have the right to appeal to higher levels of courts. For instance, if the order comes from the township level, you have the right to appeal to the district level court or to the union level.
Ye Thu was also arrested and sentenced under martial law, with no right to defence. He was given 20 years in jail on 3 charges, one of them being the infamous Section 505A about causing fear or spreading false news. His mother and siblings live in another region, and they were also kept in the dark about his trial and sentencing. His friend Go Lin Han has been trying to support Ye Thu and his family. He says both his family and his colleagues have been devastated by his imprisonment.
His arrest has had a huge impact on his family. We know that he's been a supportive son and the breadwinner for the whole family. He's also a reliable senior person for his colleagues. Not only does his family face challenges, but his colleagues have lost a valuable co-worker.
These military tribunals contravene many of the fundamental rights enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, most notably Articles 10 and 11. Everyone is entitled to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal, with all the guarantees necessary for his defence. In civilian courts, a lawyer often acts as a point of contact between the families and the detainees, and families can also attend hearings in civilian court trials, so they see their loved ones. But that's not the case for families of those sentenced in military tribunals. Once sentenced, no prisoners have been allowed any prison visits since the COVID-19 outbreak, up until October this year, when authorities relented. Daw Kyi Aye has not seen her son since before he was arrested, and she's worried about his health in prison because he's HIV positive.
Of course I'm concerned because of his health. He's quiet and introverted. We don't know what is happening since he doesn't communicate much. He has stomach problems too and can get sick easily. He has health problems frequently, especially gastritis. His brothers and sisters are also worried. So is his dad.
Even those sentenced under civilian courts in Myanmar are not getting any justice since the coup. Ma Pan Puint used to work as an advocate.
The judiciary is influenced by the executive branch. The judiciary is not completely independent. SAC amends the laws and enforces them. Even in some cases, the rights of the citizens as given in the Constitution are limited. There is no fair trial. From the beginning of a case, judges will have orders from above on how many sentences the defendants should serve.
The World Justice Project compiles a global rule of law index every year. Under the category of fundamental rights, Myanmar is ranked 141 out of 142 countries, with only Iran performing worse. On the matter of justice, Myanmar is at the very bottom of the table, ranked 142 out of 142 for its failure to follow due process of the law and ensure the rights of the accused. It's been over 2 years since the coup. According to the AAPP, over 25,000 people have been detained for political reasons by military authorities. Those who were imprisoned were sentenced by a judicial system which is massively influenced by the military regime, whether through military tribunals or civilian courts. Thar Gyi got a life sentence. His mother prays for the downfall of the military regime which imprisoned him and others without fair, independent trials or the right to a defence.
My expectation can only be realized once this military government loses its power and our government returns. Everything will be solved once this happens. People will be free from these issues. This is not a theft case, rape case. This is about our country and protecting our own people. It's nothing else. I pray for the downfall of the military. The sooner they fall, the sooner we will find peace.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Do Athan. We'd welcome your feedback on social media. This project on human rights reporting is supported by Fondation Hirondelle with the help of our donors. You can listen to our podcast via the Do Athan Facebook page. They can also be found on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes and Spotify. You can also listen every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. and Sunday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. on Voice of America Radio. Please tune in again next week.